Hi, everyone. Welcome to VCTV, the Venture Capital TV from Latoken. We are here on another episode on another topic with new set of speakers. However, the speakers are regular speakers, been on the panels before, so nothing new, but the topics are obviously we keep on rotating because we believe that the world is changing, is moving, even though we don't realize we might be stuck, not stuck, maybe locked down, stuck, or whatever, stranded at one place or one country, but time is moving fast. So we have to keep up with the speed. We have to ensure we are sharing knowledge. We have to ensure we are networking. We have to ensure the startups are getting funded because the startups are the ones who are building and driving the economy in times of crisis, really. And they need help. That's the whole idea about VCTV, the platform where we connect investors with founders. We have a lot of startups in our community who are looking to raise funds through various methods. Could be equity, could be VC, could be IEOs, which is token sale, and different other ways of raising funds. Today's topic is very relevant uh, because we are working from home. It's about work tech and remote tech. So in my company, like, sorry, let me just introduce myself. I'm the regional director of Latoken, and I'm based here in Singapore. And I host VCTV Monday to Friday, all remotely online, and speak to various people from all around the world, like speakers and founders from all around the world in one time zone. So that's the beauty about internet. That's the beauty about working remotely. I have got somebody from Africa, I've got somebody from India, and I'm hosting this show from Singapore. Isn't that amazing? So three different countries coming together into one time zone. So that's why this topic is quite relevant. And we've got two speakers, Sean Burrowes from Nigeria and Dr. Shrikant from India. Welcome back, Sean and Shrikant. And thanks for dedicating your time to VCTV very regularly. We know that last time Sean just disclosed about his being a COVID survivor, like he got it last month and he's finally back up and running, healthy, looking fit. I remember last session he was up, actually maybe jumping up and down while he was talking as well. So glad that we all, that's why we wish our speakers to stay connected and so that we can know how they're doing in terms of their health because of the coronavirus. So thank you, Sean, for sharing that with the audience as well and myself. So we're going to start this with Shrikant. Hi, Shrikant. Welcome back. How are you?
Absolutely great. Sean, welcome to the show and welcome, my dear fellow COVID survivor. I am a COVID survivor too. So, the topic cannot be more interesting to talk about today. A quick introduction. I'm Dr. Shrikant Pathasarathi, a chartered accountant, chartered management accountant, lawyer, of course, PhD. I work with family offices. I manage their investments. I handle five of the India Forbes 100 investments, and here to talk about the future.
Yeah, great. That was sweet and short. Thank you, Shrikant. Sean, over to you, please. Please introduce yourself to our speakers.
Awesome. Thank you. Again, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Sean Burrowes. I'm the co founder of Ingressive for Good, a fund that is focused on training 1 million youth, deploying $1 million in funding, and connecting African youth to 5,000 jobs over the next 5 years. I also do operations for the Ingressive Capital Fund. This is a $10 million fund that makes $200,000 to $400,000 early stage investments in businesses connected to traditional African business sectors. Also keep in touch and keep looking at Ingressive Capital. We're also starting a $50 million fund at the end of the year. So amazing times ahead. And I'm glad that we have these rotating panels and these rotating topics, because these days things are changing much, much faster than I've seen in previous years. So it's good. There's always going to be new things to talk about the way things are going now.
Yeah, Sean, yes, absolutely. Welcome back. And I just had a request from someone, they can't hear you properly. Maybe you can come a little closer to your mic.
Okay, is this a little bit better?
Try again.
Is this a little bit better? Can you hear me better now?
Much better than before, I guess. I mean, if I get a ping or some, I get to hear from one of the audience, like, they can't hear you, I'll let you know. But I can hear you fine right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Sean, you've been working, I think we were discussing before we went live that you've been working remotely before COVID.
Yes, definitely. I've actually been working, remotely since 2018. And, especially now with COVID and different things like that, we didn't necessarily see a lot of traditional businesses in Africa that even thought about working remotely, with this being such a employer's market, so to speak. So yeah, we've been doing it, and we were one of the crazy people who were not sending people home. It got to one point that the parents of one of our interns actually cracked his computer in half. And basically the reason being that he didn't understand why this guy wasn't going to work every day from 8 to 5 like everyone else.
Right. Okay, so let's start with you with some questions about work tech and remote tech, because you've been working yourself remotely, and same here, I've been working remotely since the lockdown. So what do you think? So what do you think the COVID's impact on work tech and remote tech working tools so far?
Is that for me?
Yes, please. COVID's impact on work tech and remote remote working tools.
Again, so what we've really been seeing is that in the African continent, again, it's an employer's market. So you have basically the mentality of that the employers are kind of dictating the terms. It's either my way or the highway. You still have banks that are using paper documents and different things like that to collect their records, all these different things. I'm sure you see it across the world in all developing markets. But again, we saw a lot of it going on here. And now that COVID hit, people realize that we have to change the way we look at these things. People were in a situation where either A, I can keep collecting money, I can find ways to keep running my business online or through other methods, or I can shut down and make nothing at all. So it was kind of like the thing that a lot of the younger members of the tech community were talking about with such energy and different things like that. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this? Now they kind of got their use case in real life. And we see on both sides now that even in my own personal business, working with Ingressive, the costs are lower on both sides. I'm not always having to go back and forth for meetings and different things like that. We all know how that different part works, but also it's having an amazing impact on the lives of workers as well. Again, you can go across the street in Lagos, Nigeria, and it takes 3 hours if you're in a car. So with that being said, as far as the remote tech and the work tech space, we're seeing a lot of different developments as far as these applications that are being pitched. We're seeing applications like, of course, people have always used, like when you're looking at the finding work or the looking for work or how you organize work, you have these platforms like Upwork, you have Freelancer. If you're looking at how they're working on this or solving different problems within the continent, you also have platforms like Afroblocks and you have Andela. And these are all different companies now that are relatively new if you're comparing them to some of the bigger companies that we all know and love, your Googles, your Twitters. Twitter was able to send 4,900 people home and tell them all to work remotely. So now to see those type of moves happening now within the African continent, I'm actually being able to pull this off with the, with the infrastructure issues that we have as far as like steady power and different things like that, not as strong bandwidth with the internet and different things like that. These were the excuses a lot of these bigger brands were using, or these bigger companies were using to say that remote working or remote work tech is not something that they're focused on. Again, now they were forced to use it, and now that people are still working from home because it still makes a financial use case. Now you're seeing, again, different companies pop up. I mentioned Andela earlier. So Andela basically, at the end of 2019, they raised $100 million. Then they fired a quarter of their staff and then transitioned everything to working remotely. And again, this is one of the premier companies when you're talking about actually creating, well, not creating, but developing talent as far as developers and different things like that. They were one of the companies that was sourcing companies like Google, Microsoft, and Facebook in the US as well. So I can keep going on and on and on, but yeah, there's just all of these developments where there's now a refocus where these things actually make more sense, and people are actually creating these new applications. So I'll say, if I was going to say one more thing, even if I'm going to mention a couple of companies, I always like to drop a few companies for people to kind of look out for, or pay attention to. So one that I'm really excited about that I've seen locally is a company called Peep.io. What they're basically doing, and this is the first time I've seen this from the African context. You've seen a lot of different companies do it. You have Asana or, Trello and different companies who are kind of handling that task management space. But this one is basically creating an office online. So that was a really cool one that I saw and I got a chance to play around with. Another one is, forgive me if I butcher this name, but there's this company called Jajenge Academy. This is a company out of Kenya. And what they do is they data process for AI and machine learning. And what they're literally doing is training people who have never used a computer before to input in less than 3 months. And seeing that they're striking at the bottom of the pyramid, they're going to this core where there's like 30% unemployment and finding jobs. And then basically what they're able to do is, like, when these people are actually coming on and working remotely, from being a little more than an illiterate, basically they're now earning 4 times as much as a college graduate. And this is addressing a $7 billion industry that's experiencing a 45% shortfall of people being able to do these jobs. So these are the type of developments basically that we are seeing within the African continent in the space in its infancy and the shift.
Fantastic, Sean. I mean, just we have 2 speakers, Ewan, Shrikant. It's okay. I mean, if you're going to share and speak more about this, because usually we have bigger panels, but today are short, so which is good. I mean, good to know. And the last example that you gave me is very interesting to know. Probably you can send me the website later. I can have a look.
Awesome.
Thank you. Shrikant, over to you. So just tell me, Shrikant, what's your work pattern been before COVID? Were you working remotely? Were you working, or were you like your family office? Do you travel to office every day, or you work from home, even before COVID?
I have always maintained with my partners that if I'm not on a plane, I don't earn, right? So I used to fly 4 days a week, and because family offices are a face-to-face business, right? I mean, people tend to look at you, look at your body language, and so on and so forth. While I'll address family offices in a short while, I'm going to touch upon my lawyer side just a little bit, because that's an elephant which has really moved in India, right? Never have we heard Zoom sessions of courts being conducted, Zoom sessions of high courts being conducted, and it's happening seamlessly. And imagine a situation where I'm sitting over here in Bangalore, India, and I'm able to attend the court in Bombay, I'm able to attend a court in Delhi, I'm able to attend a court in Guwahati, all within a span of 4 hours. I mean, for the judicial process, that means that there is a disposal of cases, there is efficiency in the process. That is one elephant that we need to tackle. The other elephant, which is there in India, as well as other countries, was 2019 saw a boom of something called co-working spaces.
Yeah, that's true.
People tended to have a joint office, and it was a means of bonding with other startups and so on and so forth. The concept of co-working has literally come to a stall, which means that the large 20 billion investment which has gone into co-working spaces by the RMZs, by the prestigious, by the Shapoorji Pallonjis, and so on and so forth, by the top-notch
Yeah.
players. Blackstone has literally come to a halt. Why? Because people tend to work from home and so on and so forth. The flip side is people are investing in two things. One is furniture, unlike the old house that you see over here. People are renovating their houses. They want their virtual presence to be fancy, so to
Yeah.
speak, right? And people are buying homes, smaller, 600 square feet, 200 square meter kind of homes are becoming popular. So on one hand, we are talking about a stagnation from a realistic perspective, which is offices are not going for swankier offices. On the other hand, you have more of personalized units being formed. So that kind of caters to the nation's development, where nobody should be without a home, right? That's the principle that GCC started. So my view in this particular regard is this: there are few pockets in industry which get affected by this particular concept of work from home. I think this is here to stay. I don't think this is here to go. And if things were to change, it would just change. It'll not become an office now. It'll be more of a club of employees, right? It's not going to be office anymore. The second point, which I would like to touch upon, if I may have another 2 minutes of your time,
Yeah, sure.
is something called, I would say, deliverables and workable concepts, right? Uh, Deliverables monitoring used to, the traditional sense is deliverables can be monitored only if you are in the presence of someone. Only if you're able to, quickly go. I used to be a CFO of a company, and a manager will come up to me and ask for a signature and so on and so forth, right? So I think managers have a tough task in terms of estimating how many hours does a particular employee have, and what is the kind of delivery that is expected. Because earlier we used to talk about a 10 to 8 kind of job. I'm not going to be untruthful by saying that it's going to be a 10 to 5 kind of job, but it's a 10 to 8. It's a 10-hour job in India, right? In India and other places, in emerging places. I don't think that's a norm. It's a 24-hour job right now. So instead of pay cuts, I think people should be paid more.
Really? Oh, I'm with you on that. It's a 24-hour job right now, for sure.
Where do we sign up?
Yeah. Sorry, Shrikant, do you want to add something?
No, so the two main action points of this, where investments are going. So that's the reason why you'll find companies starting to invest in employee health. They are restricting that no Zoom calls after 6, though I'm sitting on a Zoom call after 6. No activity beyond that. And if you have to meet, you can meet in small groups and so on and so forth. So I think what's happening is, a lot of good things have happened, right? Water cooler talks have kind of come down. Productivity is increasing.
True.
Productivity is increasing. Politics is kind of being thrown out of the equation. You don't know what the other person is doing in a individualized department as such.
Yeah.
What is not changing is medical professionals, people who have to be, chefs, restaurants. They can't work from home,
Yeah.
right? Though there
Yeah.
can be chefs. So barring a few professions, I think a majority, 90% of the professions are going to be, it's here to stay. Case in point, Deloitte closed about 4 offices, permanent closure.
Oh, really? In India?
Not in India, in UK.
In UK? Permanent closure.
People were relocated and repositioned. That's a different story. But I don't think there is a need for a physical office anymore. For example, I'm a lawyer and I'm sitting over here in my house. And today I appeared in 3 tribunals, 2 high courts, not possible in a pre-COVID era, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And who could have thought that he could go and appear in courts on a Zoom call? I mean, that would sound like this too good to be true, you know?
Point which I want to add, Sunny, over here is people used to be adverse of this particular change. Now people have kind of accepted that, look, this is a norm, and you should look at the efficiency of all the judges, the honorable judges, in
Yeah,
delivering judgments through a platform like Zoom. So once you realize the convenience, this is like what smartphone did to us, right?
yeah.
Once you realize the convenience of this is not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, I really agree to that. I was also attending a webinar over the weekend with my hometown in India, and I would never have thought of attending such an physical meeting, ever pre-COVID. And I was I think it was very productive, very good meeting, especially because we were people from all over the world representing that particular state. So it was fantastic. I thought it was very, very, very efficient as well. So great. So there are pros and cons, and I think here we see more pros. So Sean, over to you. So culturally, what kind of differences are we addressing in terms of work tech?
Culturally, I think work tech in the African continent represents a really interesting opportunity. Just number one, in moving from the US to the African continent, I just found that the relationship between the boss and the employee is completely different. Where in the US, it was more so, you come to work, you clock in, you do your job, and then you clock out. Whatever you do between those hours when you clock in and out is up to you, as long as you get the job done. What you're finding more so here in the African continent is that you would almost see a boss as like you would treat them face to face like a senior member of your family. There's a different level of respect. There's also a different level of expectation from that boss. Now, of course, in the continent, it's the pay is not going to be that great when you're at the service level in different areas like that. But to kind of balance this out in the African continent, there's more of a communal living. There's more of a community when it comes to it. So now when you're looking at if somebody, if I have one of my employees, if somebody in their family dies, a close member of their family dies, not only am I expected to give them time off, but I'm expected to give them a contribution to their family to help with the funeral and different things like that. Again, when it comes time to Christmas, sometimes companies in the US will have a Christmas party. Sometimes you have Secret Santa and you exchange gifts. If you do not give each and every one of your employees a Christmas present here, you will have a problem. You will be one of the most disrespectful people because, again, culturally, we're expected to kind of to take care of people. And then what I'm seeing now with work tech and what you're seeing all the way across the board is you're seeing that personal, that more intimate touch that happens, not HR intimate, but when you have those more personal relationships with people, that's kind of being wiped to the side now. And again, we're looking at, again, I think it was the one I mentioned earlier, but you're finding small workforce development tools and different things like that, task management tools and reminders and different things that are starting to kind of encompass and consider the different things that are happening here when it comes to the workplace and those workplace dynamics. Again, it's not happening in any way that was major, just a small thing here and a small thing there as far as a feature. But again, it's a very, it leaves a very much so an open space. And then just, again, as far as work tech and remote tech go generally, we almost had that feeling, if you're talking about that 50 to 60-year-old range, they're basically tech adverse. They're not looking to find the newest tech innovation or trying to incorporate systems because they find it to be complicated, burdensome, and different things like that. And they would rather leave it to people lower in the rung of the company to kind of do these things. Tech stuff should be really pushed towards somebody in more of a tech-related environment. Now, again, I'm not talking about the international companies that are here that are running these huge different systems and whatnot. But again, if you're talking about different like software as a service where I can't think of the name, SSAP, But if you're looking at some of these different tools that are being used, normally there are some that are expected. But if you're talking about an Asana that would take thousands of people working in different silos and kind of bring together their conversations and different things like that, in many ways, people are not interested unless you can directly speak to how it affects the bottom line. And again, culturally, what I see here is people are not as, again, with it being an employer's market, you're just not seeing people so aggressive to say, hey, this is what it is, or this is how you should deal with this. You should put this in there and different things like that. Again now, but with remote working, with more people freelancing, work tech and remote tech are allowing people to kind of build their own environments. The newer generation is kind of pushing things aside. We're also seeing a lot going on in the banking industry as a result, or just as an example. Again, you had brick and mortar banks that were kind of controlling the conversation with banking. They were even strong enough to keep a lot of the telecoms from being able to enter the conversation where Nigeria is considered. Kenya did a much better job with how they incorporated banking in the telecom industry. But is using Nigeria as an example, again, they're just not able to, they don't want to see so many different things going on as far as, again, working remotely, or just that whole idea of putting your whole workspace online. As a result now, you're seeing Kuda Bank, you're seeing Rubies, you're seeing different banks like this that are popping up and saying, we have a digital solution. We're solving problems. We're doing things better than these traditional banks are doing, because they never considered serving people in the way that we're able to do it. So again, there's a cultural shift as far as in the way that employees are seeing themselves. There's a cultural shift by force by the way that these employers are having to treat their employees. And again, you have people at the individual level who are now just carving out and creating their own workspace, creating their own niche, and communicating their value in a different way, because now there are less strings pulling them around.
Yeah, I think, Sean, very good points you've just highlighted. I really love working from home. I mean, you can say remotely or home, because it's very comfortable. It's very, very comfortable. You just wake up on your time, take a breakfast, have your breakfast while you can still work. You don't have to rush for being at work on time. You don't have to be a part of the crowd, depending on what you're driving to work, or like I used to live in London like a couple of years back. I used to travel like 1 hour to 1.5 hours one way on motorways on good days. So when I go back and think through all those things, I see I'm better off. I mean, I'm a lot better off. I'm not tired, because by the time I reach my office, I'm really tired in driving, if I'm driving, even though I'm sitting in a public transport. I think there are a lot of positive points. But when you mentioned about Secret Santa and Christmas parties, I also miss them. Those were the time to physically bond with your workmates, right? I mean, that was the social aspect of work. But that's obviously, as Shrikant said, workplaces can be converted into clubs where you don't have to go and work whole day. But it's a very good idea, actually. I really like it, Shrikant, the way you put it, like a club, especially during Diwali or these kind of festivals that we have. We can just come together as a little club, and groups of smaller groups, and still socialize over the festivals that we have. Go on.
Trademark by me.
Yes, trademark. Okay, fine. I give you that trademark. Okay, sure. No worries in that. But I really like that concept, to be honest. I mean, that's what we should be doing, especially if we have physical office, and we have colleagues in one particular town. That's no point. We shouldn't be meeting for a social gathering in small groups. So that brings me to the next question for you, Shrikant. What's the impact of this remote working? The way that we are working right now has on other industries?
Significant. I mean, if you talk about the yellow taxis and the taxi aggregation / mobility kind of startups, which catered primarily to working employees, significant reduction. I mean, Uber in India saw about 50% reduction in the first month of lockdown, and still it has not recovered to the full strength as it did earlier. Now, talking about Uber, it's also important to also mention that certain capital investments have to be made in transport to make it COVID safe. So that would require a specific budget, which startups wouldn't have thought of, right? Pre-COVID. Already you have a reduction in sales. Already you have a reduction in number of trips. On top of it, you have an increase in the capital expenditure. That takes a toll. So it will take about 2 years for them to recover. Now, about other industries or other sectors which will be affected, food has been doing quite well because people sit at home and binge, right? So
Tell me about it.
they wouldn't. I know I have gained about 10 kilos from the time that I stayed in India. So I'm not going to comment on more than that. It's an absolute number. I'm not giving you a pre and a post. Um, Food is booming. Uh, Entertainment is actually a booming area, and people, I've seen so many people work on something, watch something on Netflix, watch something on
That's
Disney,
me. That's me. You're talking about me.
and listen to a song on YouTube. So I think there was certain stigma attached to it when you're in a workplace,
Yeah.
and I think you'll be perceived as someone who doesn't work. Now
Yeah.
the focus is on delivery, which is why I mentioned that productivity has kind of increased. Now, without digressing, coming back to the original point which I was making, the kind of sectors that will be affected is anything which will enable them to work, anything which will enable them to de-stress. You will find a boom in that particular sector. Entertainment, again, only OTT, not the physical
Yeah.
theaters and so on and so forth. You will find increase in purchase of personal cars. Small, the other day I mentioned in your panel, small
Yeah.
personal cars. That is something that you will see. You will find restaurants actually, dine out. Sorry, delivery of restaurants is far exceeding dine outs. So I think it's good to be in a crisis because you know where to pivot, how to pivot, and COVID has kind of taught us, to think long term instead of say next 5 years.
Yeah, right. I really, you know what, to be honest, Shrikant, I really have to tell this to, share to very honestly, because the kind of work that we're doing much more longer hours, as you rightly said, like 24/7. But at the same time, because of entertainment that we have in place, that gives us little breaks, I mean, previously, if you're watching Netflix on in a workplace, obviously that's not allowed. Number A is not allowed. You would be seen as somebody who doesn't work, right? Or if you're browsing on Facebook or Instagram, then obviously people have issues with that because they think you're not working. But now, because the kind of work we do, especially the number of hours we put in, we need to have little breaks. I mean, and what breaks can you have from home, So I think I sometimes lie down on my bed. I've got my bed next to me. But that way, it's more effective. It's more efficient, the kind of output that comes out of the work. In my personal opinion, I think everybody should consider this. I mean, everybody is considering they're working from home. But
There's a,
this is
sorry to cut you off, Sunny. I'm so sorry. Just to add on to what you just said, there is a trend which is going on in India where people just fly out to destinations which was, literally people, throw a dart on the India map, and wherever it lands, they just travel over there because they can work from home. They can work from anywhere, right? So that kind
absolutely.
of your travel industry as well. Sorry, you were saying something.
No, very, these were the ideas we used to have in mind pre-COVID, like, working from anywhere, working remotely, working from home, having a second income. But we are having a first income working from home now these days. These were all ideas that were not, we never thought they're going to come to life because of COVID-19. And obviously we have a different crisis. We have a crisis, but we also have a good solution in this respect. So I think, which is good in a way. So great, Shrikant, adding that, throwing a dart. I wish I could just throw a dart and travel. The other day over the weekend, I had a panel, after you and Gary, I decided to travel within Singapore. Singapore is not as big as India, but thought I'll travel. So I started with Marina Bay Sands. So I have decided every weekend I'm going to travel to somewhere. Even though it's like really 20 minutes away, I'm going to do that.
Sure, Baru, please.
Sure. Thank you. Sean, over to you. I just want to ask you, who is driving the tech development? Is it the employers or the job seekers?
As it stands right now, it's very interesting. So it's more so of the job seekers. Again, it's the youth. It's the younger people in tech that are kind of changing the conversation. Again, at one point we were doing webinars, we were doing in-person meetups and all of these different things with Ingressive under our previous iteration. And it was basically, how do we bring together these traditional corporates and connect them with your developers, your designers and different things like that. We were doing like hackathons, all of these different things to kind of try to figure out, how do we push these people together? And then how do we get them to work together? And again, time after time, there's more interest from the employer side or from the company side in trying to understand or even having the time to listen. But it's not like a lot of them are internally creating their own solutions, or at least not until they saw a lot of the activity that was happening within the tech community. The fintech community in particular was driving a lot of people to kind of sit back and reimagine or re-envision how they were running their companies and how they were connected to global technologies. Again, you have all of these companies that are doing their calculations in, let's say, Naira, which is about 450 for every $1. And then you have a company, again, one of the companies we invested in earlier, get acquired for $200 million. And now it's like, wait a minute, there's real money here. And these people are people from around the world are actually willing to invest this type of money into the continent. So now again, and these are people that are in their early 20s and different things like that. They are now shifting and removing or taking the place or even becoming shoulder to shoulder with the old guard that kind of had control of all the access points and different things like that. So now again, you're seeing new access points. Again, new businesses being launched and new ways of doing old business that are changing the entire conversation across the continent. So that's a lot what we're seeing. And again, it's the employee market. If you're looking at what's happening with the gig economy now within the African continent, there are hordes and hordes and hordes of freelancers and different people who are able, again, to build their own environment, create their own message, present their own value add, and gain work in that capacity. Again, now you have to engage the employee in a completely different way than you were before. So again, from what we're seeing here within the continent in different regions and different spaces, it's definitely the employers, it's definitely the younger group, the up and coming people who would have been entry level that are now creating their own solutions and creating their own technologies.
Very good points, Sean. Talking about employee engagement, I've got a question for Shrikant. So how do somebody estimate the work and the delivery that an employee is doing? I mean, especially when you're working remote.
Technically, and by the law of work, things shouldn't change, right? Between what you do in a physical place versus what you do remotely. But what is happening is, I think, more of project management is happening, which could be done remotely. People are not engaging in phone calls anymore. It is more of a, everything is a Zoom call, right? Everything is a Google Meet. So I think from that particular, it has its pros and cons in the sense, when you get into a Zoom Meet or a Google Meet, you tend to revolve around certain topics. You don't get to the point straight and so on and so forth, right? So how does one estimate the work post-COVID? A good manager would. Right, that's how great CEOs are built. They estimate the sales, they estimate the targets, bring down the targets to post-COVID, and kind of distribute the work. Right. So estimation of work is going to be a tough task. now will be the clear differentiator between who's a manager and who's a supervisor.
Ah, that's a good one. Difference between a manager and a supervisor. That's a good one.
I'll have to
Good,
write that down.
good point. Okay,
Sorry.
great. Sorry, Sean, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I guess I'm seeing a little bit of the same thing as well. My private company that I run is an operations firm. And basically we're getting a lot more people who are basically asking, or it's not even necessarily always just business. Sometimes it's just friends that know you're in the space that are asking me like, how do I put this together? Or like, how do I do this? Or how do I do that? I think that the remote work process is pulling into the conversation a lot of things that were previously put on the back burner. One of the things, again, that I was just talking about is like, how strong are your operational processes? Again, if people, if you're not able to sit over them and watch over their shoulder, have that threat, if you don't have that and the whole entire business model starts to crumble, again, you start to realize who's a manager and who's a supervisor. Another thing that I also wanted to touch on that was being pulled into play as well is like considerations for mental health. I think a lot of celebrities and different people, again, have started pushing mental health to the forefront, but I'm also starting to see it in connection to conversations around Zoom calls and Zoom fatigue, where, again, it happened to me. I just, sometimes you get a calendar invite, you hit accept. Oh, I know this person, you hit accept. You know this person, you hit accept. Oh, I want to talk to them, you hit accept. And then, sometimes you look at your calendar, it's like, wow, I have like 7 Zoom meetings today, back to back to back to back, especially for people who are working in multiple time zones. I know we work with people in the US. I know I was also having a conversation with somebody in Hong Kong. And it's like just in one day, and it's just like, this is ridiculous. So again, like, they're calling into, again, mental health. I think he touched on it earlier when we were talking about what type of health benefits are you providing your employees. So those conversations also started coming up, not just health benefits, but also benefits to like data, Wi-Fi changing over to different carriers and different things like that. And then the last point is it's also just like in general, just redefining what essential actually means.
Sean, with regards to mental health, I think I have a different opinion. I think we are especially working mothers or people with families and children. I think they would be feeling blessed because spending time with your children, with your family around, I mean, what can be the best? No, Sean. Okay, what's that? I really don't know. No.
I'm not gonna. It's not. I don't have children yet, so I'm not talking about myself. I just know some people do not have time away from their children, and it's driving them literally insane.
Because I see babies on webinars as well with their mom and dad. So because pre-COVID, obviously you wouldn't have that time with them that you are having now. So on the flip side, but guys like you who do not have kids probably have a different perspective. Shrikant was also nodding his head.
I heard on the streets. I'm just rumors.
Okay, Shrikant, you were also nodding your head. What was that for?
I can confirm that no, I don't spend more time with my child. Earlier, it used to be lock, stock, 2 smoking barrels. I'm back home at 8 o'clock. 8 to 10 or 8 to 11 is the time that I have for my child. He comes running to the door. Now it's like, shh, don't disturb. Shh, don't disturb. I don't think that's the right attitude. Be it a child or be it a wife, be it a mother, right? Those of you who are unmarried, it's also about your friends. You can't say, please stop talking. See, the question is also about socializing after work, right? I mean, how do you define after work?
You are at home. There is no after work.
There's no after work.
Not anymore.
Where do you go to drink? You can't.
No, you can't. Drink at home. Zoom, over the Zoom. So that's a cool idea. I think, go on, Sean. You wanted to say something.
Oh, I saw the quotation fingers. We gotta go with the quote fingers first.
we are for the the infamous doomer memes, right? Alone and so on and so forth.
Yes, I know. It took a second, but I got you.
Good one, that one.
I completely forgot what I was about to say because now I just have that meme burned in my mind.
Yeah. Okay, great. This is a great session for me, actually. I just want to know closing remarks from you, Sean, and your feedback about VCTV.
My comments about VCTV is that I have not seen a platform yet that is taking perspectives from all over the globe and from different spaces and zeroing in on key concepts and key things that we need to pay attention to. You don't need to just be an investor to be interested in where money is going or how you can use your money to create a better way for yourself. So I really appreciate anybody who's willing to kind of break down and give information that is digestible across the board. And I just love being a part of it. So that's my 2 cents about Latoken.
Thank you, Sean. And we're missing you, especially I was missing you on my sessions, but glad that you're back and healthy, and thank you so much. Shrikant, what's your closing remarks for today's topic and feedback about VCTV, because you are a very regular speaker on both Asia and US panel.
So my closing thoughts on this particular topic is, have a work timing. It's high time we had work time, and work time kind of gives rise to possibility of many industries, right? I mean, you can go out, socialize, you can take an Uber, so that acts as an incentive for a lot of companies or a lot of sectors. So that would be my fundamental point of view change that people should have. On VCTV, great as usual. Never a dull moment. Enjoyed being with Sean today. It's always good to make jokes when when you have an audience, right?
Yeah. You guys, I think it's good to have we both on a panel again. You guys are like, in sync and the same level of energy. And I love that.
Yeah, whatever. Awesome.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Shrikant. Thank you, Sean, for your time and your insights today, for sharing with your audience, sharing with me, and sharing with other founders. So investors, if you're looking to share space with people like Sean and Shrikant, please reach out to us and we'll be happy to have you. And founders who are looking to raise funds, please reach out to us. We have lots of investors in our portfolio who are looking for your pitch. We're looking to explore your startup and probably invest in you. Even though they don't invest, what you get network, you get mentoring, you get lots of help out here. So please go and check us out, www.latoken.com/events, and you can get all the details that you need. And thank you so much again, and stay safe, stay connected, come back to VCTV, keep watching VCTV, and give a thumbs up, and we are done. Thank you. Good evening, good day, bye.